Hi, my name is Mihm. I'm on the OkCupid Business Intelligence team, here to discuss new love markets and exploring the data set. So the strategy to get to the end goal is to identify data nuances or markets or potential new users or niches that we can go down for ad campaigns. We're going to first examine the data to see what we're working with, and clean that data, tidy it up and strategize. We'll finally enrich that data to broaden the profile scope, and then finally look to see if we get some insights for potential new markets or new users that we can target. Upon examination, US and North America was the primary region of user profile data, with Europe being second. We had one out in Vietnam. When we dig closer into the state breakdown within US, California is the primary frequency of our users. So if we zoom in further on California, we'll see that the LA and San Francisco Bay areas were the highest concentrations, with San Francisco and the Bay Area being the number one. As you can see from this chart, San Francisco was above 31,000 users overall, with Oakland being a distant second. So we're going to target San Francisco as our city when we start getting deeper into this data. We can use the leaflet library as I show here to dive deeper into the EDA. Understand, maybe some of the interesting breakdowns of the user profiles by ethnicity, income, what else can we do? Religion, anything we want. So you can see as we get closer to San Francisco, it's really high concentration compared to everybody else around it. And again, if you click on this little blue one, you can see some of the details about that particular user. So words to love by. I examined the SA0 data column, which is shown here. It's about 140 characters max from what I could see in the data set. And I wanted to understand like what word is popping up the most. So I made a word cloud to maybe get some insight. And the word love popped up the most, with life, live, life, work, new, other interesting words coming in behind it. And I wondered if that could give me any insights into or any direction as to where I could take this analysis. Missing data, you can see at the bottom of the chart, income was 80% missing. And we'll get into reasons for that later. But also diet and offspring were also had a high level of missingness. But anything numerical, we're going to use mean imputation to clean up. Some other tidbits, it's primarily male in this data set, with about 11,000 more than the female. Education is mainly university master's program. Ethnicity was primarily white or Asian. Job, the top five you can see here, with science, student, and other being the top three. And then drinking, I was interested to see if this had anything going on, but it was mostly social drinking, which I think many people would fall in that category, but not a real high instance of like alcoholism or heavy alcohol use. Cleaning and enriching the data. So I opted to use the entire data set with all NAs included, using mean imputation on numerical columns. Again, income had 48,000 missing rows, about 80%. And I attribute this to, some folks just did not want to put their, like if they had a high income, they did not want to be targeted by other users just looking for somebody who had a lot of money. So I think that's why that got left off. I think people just decided not to do it, or they just didn't care. So height only had 3 missing rows, and age had no missing data. So I did use string splitting to extract the city and state from location. I wanted to make sure I had a full location set for city and state in case I wanted to really get deep into that down the line. You can see here anywhere it was missing, I created 2 new columns that broke it down so I could subset it easily. Enrichment, I used a full join on the address and latitude longitude data, and then paired that with the profile data set to give me 28 unique variables that I could use for feature engineering potentially. And then finally, looking at insights and potential markets. So taking all that cleaning, enrichment, inspection, and kind of boiling it down to these niche markets or these new targeted areas that we could go down. I show the 5 words: love, like, life, new, and work. And again, words have meaning. The top 5 words from San Francisco, specifically from the SA data, were indeed love, life, like, new, and work. And what could we do? Could we subset or inspect these individual groups of people who use these words to see if there's any behaviors or any unique things going on there? So I use grep to dive in, and I subset the data on these 5 profile types of lovers, likers, lifers, call them new days or workers. So if you had that word in your essay, you got put into that subset of data for inspection from San Francisco. I also looked at the religion data, the top 10 in particular. Religion in San Francisco was largely listed as NA. Maybe folks just did not care to put that there, or it just wasn't a big deal, so they did not put it. However, the rest were either agnostic or atheist, around 20% combined, and others just didn't care. But then we also had a little mix of Christians or Catholics in that same top 10. So you have higher concentration of agnostics or atheists, but then you have this several groups of Christian or religious people in that same group. So I was interested, could this be a potential market that we could go after? When I do feature engineering on the sex and religion attributes, on the lovers data alone, so if the word love showed up in their essay in San Francisco, it appears that it's pretty regular whether you're religious or not, as you can see from the table. Top 3 includes agnostic and Catholicism. They include the word love in the essay. So I thought we could call this profile combination loving agnostics and carefree Christians. It kind of goes to show that you don't need to be either religious or not religious. You can still love each other, or maybe love itself is a important thing to you, important enough that you put it in your essay. That maybe these two groups of folks would have common interest over love itself. That religion doesn't need to be a divider. I thought that could be a unique thing that we could chase down. The likers data showed a very similar trend, so I didn't dive too deep into it, knowing that love is a much more powerful, heavy-hitting word. Second potential market, if we look at the workers data, so if the word work showed up in your essay and did feature engineering on sex, education, and job, and I showed the top 5 here. So we've got male, college grad, working in computer hardware software was the top, and the top 5 were males. When we subset it on the word work in the essay from San Francisco, it just appears to be a common bond for those out of college. Your top 5 were all out of college that had the word work in their essay. But I thought these two in the middle, male, female, graduated, but also in sales and marketing. So we had these two group here. So like a sales, marketing, college educated, male, female, calling it educated workaholics. Maybe go down this path for San Francisco as a niche market and see if we can get some good combinations or good results from people meeting each other with these common backgrounds based on the word work. When I look at the word life in the lifers data, if you have life in your essay and then doing engineering on age and sex alone, this one was a little more interesting. Males aged 25 to 33 accounted for 9 of the top 10. So there's only one female that was in that top 10, age 28. However, the top male age was 28 at number 1. So I thought, we've got 28 as this common feature. Call it 28 in loving life. For San Francisco, 28 for some reason appears to have a interesting trend when you have the word life in your essay. So we can target that market. And then finally, the fourth market if they had the word new in your essay, and then use sex and offspring to inspect it in San Francisco. So it was pretty much males and females that don't have kids, but might want or they want them. And I thought it was just interesting that in the middle, again, just like the other data set, male, female, don't have kids, but you want them, and call it kids in the future. So that was another particular market. So to bring it all home and use these data insights, we're going to concentrate on San Francisco. Love is a top used word based on the essay input. Income was about 80% missing, and I explained the reasons why. Some of the lovers data had what I call devious lovers, where like married folks would show up, or people who are already seen someone, and you're showing up in some of the love data. So potential markets that we can explore: loving agnostics and carefree Christians, educated workaholics, 28 and loving life, and finally, kids in the future. So thank you for listening. Are there any questions?